Stop doing that.
Josh. Son of a bitch, you know what I mean?
All right, we are back from watching Night of the Living Dead. And we're back! 1990.
Woo!
Night of the Living Dead.
Whew.
There's a kind of a sordid amount of trivia associated with this movie.
Okay.
Some of it was like there was a lot, and some of it I was just like, you know what? This just seems like a bunch of really silly things. So I'm just gonna cut to the chase here. Probably the only important thing to talk about is this is Tom Savini's only feature film. It was his first and currently his last.
Oh.
It's the only thing he's directed that is feature film length. He had a couple shorts and a few different anthologies and stuff, but he has never directed another full-length movie.
All right.
They have announced a movie called Nightmare City, which is another remake that he's directing of an Italian zombie movie. But it was announced in like 2017-ish, and nobody's really heard anything ever since. So, is that an Italian zombie?
My question exactly.
It's a spicy meatball.
Just like a mama made.
It's a me, Mario.
Donkey Kong. No? That wasn't right? No? Okay. That's so close.
Not even close.
Okay, well.
All right, what happened in this movie? Night of the Living Dead. I mean,
Classic.
we know, but what happened?
Classic.
I guess what happened in this version a little bit. We can kind of run down that because maybe it's a little bit different if you've not seen the remake.
Movie starts with this set of two people. They're visiting their deceased mother at the graveyard.
Oh.
Barbara and Johnny. Which she doesn't do the really annoying Johnny in this version. Thank God. Let's just kick that off. Barbara in general, if you've seen the original and have or have not seen the remake, Barbara is so much less annoying in the remake.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is great.
Oh, yeah.
So Johnny and Barbara, they go to the graveyard. They're visiting their father, who has died, and they run into some zombos.
I'm the Zombo. There you go.
And then they get separated. Johnny gets bit by a zombie, and you know, Barbara stumbles upon this farmhouse. In the farmhouse, she finds some other zombos. She finds some dead folks, and then our hero Ben arrives on the scene in the 1990 version, portrayed by the always wonderful Tony Todd.
Tony Todd!
Oh,
Let's go.
so good. So good.
There are a lot of great things about this film. This is my third time seeing it. And his presence is always just a present. A gift, we'll say. His presence is always a gift. Because present and presence is confusing. It's great. I wouldn't say I'm like a diehard Tony Todd fan, but I think this is one of his best.
I think we're becoming diehard Tony Todd fans because we keep watching stuff that has him in it.
Yeah, but I think this is like, if you kind of want to see him at his best, where like his slight overacting is accentuated in a good way.
Would you say that he is kind of the younger and obviously black Bruce Campbell?
Oh, he's better than Bruce Campbell.
Oh,
because the thing is, like,
And blacker.
in this movie,
not necessarily
in general.
this movie, just in general.
See,
I really, really enjoy Tony Todd. I don't want anyone walking away thinking that I don't. But I think that there's a reason why he is a horror icon and he hasn't entered the world of... He's not even spoken in conversation with, like, Denzel Washington. Like,
yeah.
who might carry a similar type of gravitas on screen, but like Tony Todd's not gonna get there. He's been in the business for a long time and he never has.
Yeah, but I feel like Bruce Campbell, for the most part, like so, and maybe not at the moment, but as we look back on it, Evil Dead 2, and Darkness, Dawn. What's the third one called? Army of Darkness. Sorry. Like we look back on those with a comedic twist. Like I don't take any of those movies seriously. Do they take themselves seriously at any point?
No.
And I would say that this movie takes itself a little bit more seriously. I would say Candyman definitely takes itself a little bit more
seriously.
So like, I feel like it's tough to compare a 1-to-1.
Sure.
But I mean, Tony Todd. And again, like I think what we have against him is he isn't the best actor. He overacts a little bit.
Yep.
But I feel like he takes himself seriously. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, clearly Bruce Campbell does not. Okay. I mean, from the beginning, not. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
And so, like, I think, and that's why I say this is kind of Tony Todd's hallmark, is like, he overacts, but we see him in way more screen time than, like, Candyman, where you get a rounded out character. And
what I feel like is crazy is how much earlier this was than Candyman. I mean, this is like 6 years before Candyman.
Yeah, but it kind of gives you that opportunity to develop him as a person. Mm-hmm. So like, this is his quote unquote like coming out party or whatever. Like obviously he's been on the scene before this, but this is like a height of Tony Todd. And then Candyman is that hallmark portrayal where like the idea of him playing this character is going to carry that through the feature, if you will. Like if I come to a theater to see a horror movie with Tony Todd and it takes as long as Candyman does to reveal him, the anticipation is huge.
Yeah.
Whereas like that's not the case in this movie. Like he's clearly the hero or anti-hero, like whatever you want to call him. You know, I think he is the best part of this film, but in a serious way. Like as strange as it is to say Tony Todd is like the hallmark of this film, like he takes and this film takes itself seriously enough to where I think we can put that pin in it.
Okay, so they hole up in this farmhouse. In the basement, we find out is an older couple with a daughter, as well as a younger couple who the male half of that younger couple was the one who was like working to fix up this old farmhouse, and essentially there's some scuttle. There's a constant power struggle between Mr. Cooper and our hero Ben, portrayed by Tony Todd. Kind of, you know, who's got the biggest cojones in the room and who can lead this group of survivors, who can make the decisions, who's in charge here. And it's always really annoying because Mr. Cooper is just kind of clueless and like, even if Ben doesn't know the best, he's clearly the best fighter here, so you should at least listen to him for that aspect. He seems to be the one who's survived the longest kind of out there. So like he kind of knows what's going on, so like at least let's give him a little bit of weight in the situation for no other reason than that. Essentially what ends up happening is little girl, daughter of the older couple of the Coopers, little Cooper, Sarah Cooper,
less little.
Which, if you've seen the original, I think she's scarier in the original because she's younger and smaller.
Just little, yeah.
And I also felt that one was in 68, and then this one was in 90. Why was she still wearing a dress that a little girl in 68 would wear whenever she was like 11 or 12-year-old in 1990?
Because that's even scarier.
I guess that makes it scary.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
But it was just awkward. It was like weird. It was like the same costume, like costuming was like, oh, we got to get the little girl dress, and they got the exact same looking dress, but now it's on a much larger female, an older female, and 20 years later.
Yeah.
What?
Same girl. She was 6,
Weird.
now she's 26. She's wearing the
Maybe.
same dress.
Very well could have been.
It's weird. Absolutely.
And made it not as good and not as scary, in my opinion. So she has her big coming out party by chomping on old moms, and then kind of creates some more scuttle. Then we have a firefight. We got a firefight between Ben and Mr. Cooper. They're exchanging shots because obviously Ben wants to put Sarah down, and Mr. Cooper says, "You can't do that to my little girl. You can't do that to she's my daughter." It's like, no, she's not your daughter. She's Zombo. And then this is kind of shortly before that. So this is all kind of already deviated a little bit from the original. There's not like the firefight and all of that, and like that part's just not as dramatic, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we have Barbara escaping, and she gets picked up by some militiamen who, the militiamen are in the original. We just don't get as much of them as we do in this movie.
Yep.
And we just get to see just enough of who they are and what they're doing. And it's good because they're going around killing zombies and pulling out live people. So that's all good. But we probably don't necessarily love the way they're doing it.
Right.
And we probably, in a world of modern morality and standards, would say these are bad people.
Yeah.
But in this moment, in this new world of zombie apocalypse, they are what we might have considered bad people doing good enough.
So this is where this is why I love this movie, because I think it has bridged the original zombie idea with what we have now, the modern kind of the moral dilemma. Because we see this play out all the time in Walking Dead, and we think like, oh, it's just natural for zombie movies, and that's not the case.
Right.
Like this, I don't want to say this is the first, but this is one of the first
I felt that.
where we get the moral dilemma of this is a bigger conversation. This, and I know that they enact it with zombies, but this can be a conversation of race. It can be a conversation of hierarchy. This can
Religion.
be religion, and so you can like, and I don't want to speak for them and say like, yes, they were definitely having that meta commentary, but you can definitely see it, and you can make the argument that yes, they are definitely having that meta commentary. And so that's why I love this movie, because I think it bridges that to what we now know as a classic commentary for zombie movies.
Yeah.
It's that, like, we always like, oh, don't kill my daughter, but like, this is more than that. Like, there are stranger zombies. I don't know who those people were, but this isn't right, and how we're treating them, I can recognize this is not being right. I love it. I think
And then
the
we
end
also
is
get
genius.
some tidbits of the same thing that we got out of Dawn of the Dead. I think this movie was trying to say something a little different than Dawn of the Dead, because in Dawn is whenever you have the other kind of half of the zombie yin and yang, which is like duality of man, who the thing to fear the most isn't the monster, it's what the monster does to the man.
Yeah.
And because in Dawn of the Dead, obviously we have the crew that comes in as like pillagers, ravagers, whatever. They break into the mall, and then they're not there to kill zombies anymore. They're there to take what they want, and what they want is what the other survivors have.
Yeah.
And that obviously becomes the other side of the modern zombie coin. So yeah, I felt that a lot watching this movie. I really felt that vibe of like, as I was watching it, I was like, man, I think that, well, first of all, it made me think, I think that the 1990 Night of the Living Dead is probably a lot more popular, and it's been seen by a lot more people than maybe I had originally thought, because I had never seen it before tonight. I've seen the original hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I've seen all of George A. Romero's directed Dead movies, and I am a huge fan of them. And it was probably because of that at some point I was like, oh, that's not a George A. Romero movie. Not really. So I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
And I probably did that whenever I was like 15, stupid, and, had no idea the intricacies of filmmaking and how much he was probably involved in the making of this movie. And this was probably more close to the original vision that he had of this film in the first place. So I felt like, man, this film seems to have influenced something like The Walking Dead way more than Dawn or Day of the Dead, like the ones that I really hold near and dear to me, that I'm like, these are the original zombie flicks. Like, this movie seems to have influenced what we see as modern zombie movies and modern zombie conversation way more than those movies.
Yeah,
and I just thought that was really interesting. I just wasn't expecting that as a viewer.
Yeah.
So we kind of got through what happened. So we have to get to the ending, though, because the ending of this and the original is very different. So for those who have not seen the original, I will spoil it for you right now. Essentially, Ben is the only one who makes it out alive. He is standing in the farmhouse. The militia comes in, and they see him from afar, shoot him on sight. Just, there's something shuffling inside this house. Bang, bang, he's dead. We're moving on. They don't even, they never know that he wasn't a zombie. He wasn't infected. They don't know the whole story of everything that happened. You spend this whole movie watching this story play out and rooting for these different characters, and some of them fall at different times, and some of them are the good guys, and some of them are the bad guys, and this whole story plays out, and then no one even knows that this story happens in the end. And that's how the original movie ends. And a lot of people hate that ending. Like, first of all, there's no hope in it.
Right.
It's a feel bad. When I say crappy, I don't mean like it's not a well written ending. It's a crappy ending because it makes you feel bad. Makes you feel crappy. But I've always really liked it. I've always liked the original ending a lot. What do you guys think about the original ending?
Yeah, I mean, I dig it. I think it's something that's been well explored. I think it obviously sets the precedent for things like, what's the Crazies?
Yeah.
Right? You know, where
Which is also George Romero.
Oh, I didn't know that off the top of my head. Okay. So, like, I mean, you get this almost like a short within a novel.
Yep.
So to speak, where, like, this is their story of a larger, catalog. I like it. It's not going to serve to the masses quite like what we get in 90.
I think that's the answer. So I was watching the whole time, I knew that they changed the ending in the remake, but I didn't know how they changed it. And I knew they changed it partially because even though Night of the Living Dead did pretty well as a film, people hate the ending. And so I knew they knew that going into the remake. And so the remake ending, like we said, Barbara gets out, she kind of joins up with the militia, and then they finally find the farmhouse again. She's in there hoping, just clinging to the thread of hope that maybe Ben is still alive. They find Ben in the basement, but he is a zombie. And so they take him out almost immediately. And I was mad. I was like, okay, this is basically the same ending, except now Ben's a zombie, but I believe that Ben deserved to not be a zombie because of how great of a hero he was. And so it was better that he got shot by a human as not a zombie than getting shot as a monster. He doesn't deserve to be turned into a monster. I was really upset about it.
Yeah.
And then immediately the movie just whiplashes. And Mr. Cooper is still alive.
Oh, yeah.
And he is not a zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Cooper, up to this point, has been a real asshole.
Yep.
And we really don't like him.
Nope.
And he pops around the corner, kind of surprises Barbara. And what did he say? He's like, oh, you came back. And she just pulls out a gun and shoots him dead in the face.
Blam!
I was so happy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And so that appeal to the masses of giving the hope, and it didn't necessarily give us a lot of hope at the end. The only hope we really have is in Barbara and her growth and development as a character.
Exactly.
But
it gave us closure.
Justice.
Yeah.
Just Cooper as not a zombie getting shot point blank in the head as like, you know what? No. And that's almost like a thing of her saying like, you're more of a monster as a man than you are as a zombie. I'm just going to put you down right here.
Well, and the fact that she can continue that legacy. I mean, she could. I mean, if she cared to, she could continue on the story of Tony Todd's character and say, hey, you know what? You know, we can recognize him, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He saved my life. He saved so many other lives. Like, and this guy is trash. He's one more for the burn pile. I think is exactly what she said. So didn't even recognize his life.
All right, so let's get into the visuals real quick. Obviously, Tom Savini directed the movie, so the special effects are top notch. We see a lot of really gross-looking zombies getting killed in pretty gross ways. I think that what was cool about that compared to the original movie is that obviously they've made at this point Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Because Day was still in the 80s, I believe. So like they have the formula down a lot more than when they made Night. And so I think for that aspect alone, this deserves the remake because they didn't know what they were doing when they made the first movie. Like they didn't have a lot of money. They were just like, hey, we're making a thing, we're doing a thing, we're making a film. And then what came out, and like they had the story beats, but they didn't necessarily have the look, the way the zombies moved wasn't done right. I mean, it's like the joke in the industry that like they would shove coat hangers into the actors' shirts so that their shoulders would like be really stiff and they'd move really awkward. Like they've gotten past that at this point. Like they actually know how to coach people to look like zombies, and they know what their zombies act like and move like and look like and how gross they can be. So I thought it looked great. Sound wise,
it was okay. I mean, like as far as like just sound effects was good. Soundtrack, like I mean, we made a couple mentions, like the intro, the end. It's
just 80s
or early 90s. You know, like it's okay. It's goofy.
It doesn't have that Dawn of the Dead end credits. Like goofy carnival music either. So like I don't know, it just sits in a weird place where nothing about it was really memorable. Josh, was this movie scary?
I don't think so.
I
personally
agree. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the stakes were never really that high.
Yeah.
And maybe and that's hard with remakes.
Right.
Because when it's a remake, most people that are watching it probably already know the story. And so, like, it's kind of you kind of have to try to one-up it. I don't think it necessarily did in that area. Honestly, I don't even have a best scare moment.
Yeah.
Me neither.
There was no jump scares.
I got one.
Great.
So it's right at the very beginning. They're at the graveyard, and we see like the first what seems like zombie figure.
Yeah.
And he kind of walks, if I remember right, he walks kind of like pan left, and he walks like out of scene. And then immediately, like you're thinking like that guy's going to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden this different, more zombie.
That was good.
Figure like pops into scene and jumps on old boy's face.
Yep. John.
And it's like, whoa, wait, there's two of them? Like.
Yeah. Well, and even that first guy, like he was talking, so it's like maybe he's not actually
maybe
zombie,
he's not.
Maybe he just has Alzheimer's. Like,
he got hit in the head or something. And so I would say like it wasn't a jump scare by any stretch of the imagination, but it was not expected.
Element of surprise, absolutely. Yep.
And that's, I mean, for a zombie film where they're moving slow as molasses, which is what Romero's known for. Like you're not going to have a ton of jump scares, even when they're breaking through the windows or, I mean, like, you know, some of the scenes, some of the anxiety is like, okay, they're coming, they're slow, maybe move because they're getting close.
Well,
like,
I'm even thinking back to like I'll reference Dawn of the Dead a lot because I feel like it kind of hammered home the formula.
Yeah.
And like there's the scene in the sequence in Dawn of the Dead whenever they're moving the semi trucks, and like they're kind of hopping in and out of the semis, and then like somebody will get like pinned in a semi with a zombie on each side. Like you don't get a lot of those moments. No. So yeah, even the tension in this movie doesn't really run very high. Let's move on to best kill.
Probably the fireplace poker through the overall guy's head.
Oh, interesting choice.
I was gonna say.
Don't take mine.
I was gonna say Johnny.
At the
very beginning.
Oh, you stole mine.
That's yours?
Son of a bitch.
They just showed everything, man. Dude. So Johnny dies in this movie the exact same way that he dies in the original, which is kind of getting tackled by a zombie and then hitting his head on a gravestone. In the original, you don't really see much of that happen, but they just full on show like
that's right.
Dude falls down, smacks his head on a gravestone, and he's dead forever.
Now, if you're paying attention, like clearly this is a dummy.
Yeah.
Like the way it folds is like, okay, that's a mannequin. but it's a great kill.
It's good.
It is a phenomenal kill. With you
phenomenal kill.
Phenomenal kill.
Phenomenal kill.
Phenomenal kill.
It's a phenomenal kill.
It's a phenomenal kill. With you taking that, I'll take Cooper. Like just the you're feeling at this point. You see Tony Todd take one, and you're kind of devastated. Wait, he did. They have to chainsaw through the door, and somehow he still ended up a zombie. Yeah. Which leads to further discussion of what is happening. CDC, are they right or are they wrong? But so he gets put down, and you think, is there anything left? And then Cooper takes one as just a normal person. Yeah. So I'll take that because I think that first death, I actually made a note on my phone. Like that was absolutely.
It's good.
It was awesome.
They did it so well.
It's so good.
Scary / just disturbing moment. I guess I should add to the scary part is when they're at like the malicious camp and they have like the zombies like strung up.
Yeah.
They're just strung up by ropes on a tree, mimicking a lynching. Obviously, they're not lynching. Obviously, they're not lynched. They're zombies, and some of them are hung by their feet and stuff. But like mimicking that look. And I had read that was in the original screenplay, but George Romero decided in 1963 or whatever it was that it's probably a little too soon.
Too soon.
So,
but you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. That like he either knew he wanted it that bad, was willing to put it on film. Mm-hmm. Maybe at that point he thought, hey, if I'm where I can make my impact, this is where it needs to go.
Right.
Good for him.
Yep.
Incredible scene.
And scary. And just watching the kind of redneck militia people just be who they are is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not, they're not zombie jump out and grab you and bite you scary, but it just begs that question of like, who's the real monster here? Which if I'm walking down like a dark alley, which one of these two would I rather meet? One shambling zombie or one of these crazy redneck militia people? Like,
yeah.
That's a pretty easy answer for me, and it's definitely the zombie. I can dodge roll that one. We'll be okay. Yep. All right, so let's get down to final thoughts and our review and rating. Josh, take us away.
So, I'm probably going to be the only person that says this. I could not get into this movie.
Okay.
I appreciate. I understand the significance and the director and everybody involved, but I just thought it was really slow and not a lot happens, and it's.
Have you seen the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
That's just.
Let me add onto our final thoughts and review. Go ahead and also tell me if you think that this remake needed to be made. If you need to think about it, I can I can jump in. We can come back to it.
Jump in.
Okay, this is getting a thumbs up for me. I love the original movie so much, and I thought that I wouldn't like this movie because I knew they changed the ending, and I like the original ending. But I think that the Night of the Living Dead story is a slow story, and I think that watching it in the black and white 1963 version is that much more slow. I think that I could actually convince people who might not really be into zombie or George A. Romero or horror movies to watch this version versus watching Night of the Living Dead original, which is why I think that it's totally warranted that they remade this film, and I'm glad they did. I'm only upset that I hadn't given the remake a chance until now, which all of you people out there who are like, movies don't need to be remade and remakes are stupid and remakes are automatically bad just because they're remakes, I think this is proof that like you give the remake a chance. I didn't give this remake a chance. I've been watching George Romero movies since I was 13 years old. I am now 28, so 15 years. I said, I'm not watching remakes. Remakes are stupid. And this one's really freaking good, and I missed out on great cinema because of me being an asshole.
Yep. Not surprised knowing you. Just kidding.
30-ish nuggets.
Thank you. So I was just about to say, like, I two key phrases. Thumbs up, thumbs down, nuggies. And I hadn't heard that from either of you.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, nuggies. Okay. For me, I think this is an incredible film. I personally think that this is what creates the modern zombie commentary. And I don't want to say that it would have never existed without this film, but I think it would have taken longer. I think we would have had a stranger adaptation of what we have now. I think this is the film. And I don't want to say the original didn't do this, but I think the remake solidified it, if that makes sense, because we were at a place in cinema where we could make bigger statements than in the 60s.
Yep.
Where we create a conversation of this movie isn't about zombies. This movie is about the people in the movie who are trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And that is why we now have The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. Like, The Walking Dead isn't about the zombies.
Right.
It's about everyone surviving.
Well, now
Zombieland.
Now it's about who can Robert Kirkman get you really attached to and then kill for no reason.
But Tony Todd, I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, that's like all of the essence of this movie. We have a buddy in our friend group who calls them girl kick-ass films, or what's he call them? Like,
yeah, that's essentially it.
Yeah,
it's like kind of new wave of badass female.
Yeah.
Main characters.
This is 90.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're on the cutting edge of so much. It's a commentary of the morality of humans. Mm-hmm. And even at our darkest hour, are we much better than animalistic zombies? I think there's so much happening in this film. The commentary, again, is expanded to where we get just more. And I'm not saying it's the best at all of these, but it opens the door to all of these conversations.
Yeah, well,
if that makes sense.
I think another question that you can ask too is, like, obviously we are meant to be on the side of Barbara and Ben, but is her taking, cowboy justice into her own hands?
Absolutely.
Is that real justice, or is that just what we wanted to vindicate ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, she's the one commenting on stringing up zombies and saying that's amoral, or it's animal-like.
Yep.
And then she goes and murders a human in cold blood.
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a must. It is an absolute must. And I'm going to go and say 50 nuggies. I mean, like, this is... If you find this in a $5 bin at Walmart, buy it, cherish it, give it to your firstborn. It's great. It's as far as 50 nuggies are concerned, absolutely a must.
Is that all I have to do to have an heirloom in my family is buy a $5 DVD somewhere and give it to my first?
Not even a Blu-ray, a DVD.
I told you that I empathized with these hillbillies far more than you probably expected me to say. Yeah, I think it's an incredible film.
Yeah. Cool. Josh, any final thoughts as far as does this remake need to be made?
Yeah, go ahead. Give us the thumbs down and the 0 nuggies because I know that's where you were at. So,
I think the remake did need to be made. I like the original ending. I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I thought the beats they hit on the remake were much better. I would give it a thumbs down. I'd give it 10 nuggets.
All right.
Like maybe contribute to someone else who wants to watch.
If they happen to have a movie from 1990 that's a remake of another really popular movie in a red box,
just so happens.
Might be in luck.
Or if you live close to a family video, because that can still happen. So
it can. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. I almost said Nightmare on Elm Street. Night of the Living Dead 1990 does get the official EEK seal of quality. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and stay eeky.